IVM.
News Kids on the Block. We bring to you stories that top the nation's papers, fresh from the IVM and the Senate International School Desk. Hi, I'm Kavya.
I'm Anya.
And I'm Trivik.
And welcome to this episode of News Kids on the Block, where we give you all the top news updates of the week.
Today, we will start our episode by addressing the situation going on in Ukraine presently. So let me just give you a quick summary. Russian forces have launched a major military assault on Ukraine with reports of missile strikes and explosions near major cities. People have been trying to flee the capital, Kiev, and there is palpable sense of shock. At least 7 people are known to have been killed in Russian attacks, police say, and another 19 are missing. Russian President Vladimir Putin warns that Moscow's response will be an instant on if anyone tries to take on Russia. The European Union says it is one of the darkest hours for Europe since World War II, and Russia will be hit with massive sanctions. Ukraine urges the UN to do everything possible to stop what it says is a full-scale war. And US President Joe Biden vows that the world will hold Russia accountable, predicting major loss of life. That is the roundup coming to you from Ukraine. We will keep you updated next week, ideally.
Yeah, Trivik, thank you so much for that. I think that the Ukraine issue is one that's been building for quite a few weeks now, and there's also a lot of history and background to the issue as well. So it's definitely a story that's still developing, and I think that's something we should keep in mind, and we look forward to your update next week.
I will take us into the next story, which is some very good news. So, for the last couple of months, India has been administering Bharat Biotech's co-vaccine for teenagers between the ages of 15 and 18 since the 3rd of January. And now a new COVID-19 vaccine has been approved for children and teenagers between the ages of 12 to 18 years old. It is the Biological E-Limited's Corbevax for adolescents between the ages of 12 to 18. It has gotten emergency use authorization. This vaccine was actually cleared by the Drugs Controller General of India in December 2019, but only now has been cleared for the ages of 12 to 18. But yeah, this is some really good news, and I think this is just another step in fighting this whole pandemic. And hopefully we'll see another vaccine in a very short amount of time, which is people younger than the ages of 12 as well. And then some amount of time we'll be able to vaccinate our entire population. So I'm looking forward to that.
Thanks, Kavya. With that, we'll take a short break and we'll be right back.
Given the unprecedented times our nation is going through, where positive is now a dreaded word, Smile India gets you delightful news from across the country about people and places that continue to spread the much-needed hope and positive vibes. I am Shifa Maitra, and you can hear Smile India with me every Thursday on the IVM app, website, or wherever you get your podcasts from. Oh, and did I tell you Smile India is available in both English and Hindi.
Welcome back. You're listening to News Kids on the Block. I shall hand it over to Anya to tell us about something that will make us very proud.
Yes, Kavya, thank you very much. So the news that I have for you today, on February 21st, 2020, a 16-year-old Indian chess grandmaster named Praggnanandhaa shocked the world's number one Magnus Carlsen. So basically, he's been playing a lot of different games, and on his day one of this tournament, he had a really bad day and he lost 3 games one after the other. But then in the 8 rounds of the Airthings Masters Rapid Online Chess Tournament, he beat the world number one Magnus Carlsen of Norway. Praggnanandhaa is the 5th youngest player ever to achieve the title of Grandmaster. He had won the World Youth Chess Championships Under 8 title in 2013, and that got him the title of the FIDE Master at the age of 7. He currently has 8 points and is in the joint 12th spot after 8 rounds of this tournament. He played with black pieces against Carlsen, who won in 39 moves, and that's how he got his achievement of being a grandmaster. And so now in this overall tournament, Praggnanandhaa has 2 wins, 2 draws, and 4 losses. But I think that just this achievement in itself is a huge win. And this Airthings Master tournament, it's a 16-player online rapid phone tournament where the winner gets 3 points and then a draw earns them only 1, and there are 7 rounds to go. So I'm sure that he'll continue to play, and I'm sure that this will be a huge boost of confidence because everyone all across India is really proud of him.
Thanks, Anya. The next story I have for you is a really sweet story that I just thought I would share. So, in the Chester Zoo in England, in the 90 years that they've been running, for the first time in history, they welcomed a baby Aardvark. The Aardvark was born on the 4th of Jan, and he received the nickname Dobby because he had a lot of similarities to the iconic Harry Potter character. They both had oversized ears and wrinkled hairless skin, and it was really, really sweet. And there's this really cute picture of um Dobby snuggled up against his mother, and it's just so sweet. The zoo's team manager Dave White said that Aardvark parents are notorious for being a little clumsy around their newborns. With the baby being so fragile and tiny, we're therefore protecting it from any accidental knocks and bumps, helping mum out with supplementary feeding sessions throughout the night, just until the calf is a little stronger. The pictures are really cute, so I suggest you guys go Google them, and they're just very heartwarming. And with that, we'll take a short break, and we'll be right back with a sports segment for you on News Kids on the Block.
Hey everybody, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On This Round is on Me, Gauri talks to Janilia and Ritesh Deshmukh. They share how they gave up non-vegetarian food and started their plant-based meat venture, Imagine Meats. On Cyrus Says, Aisha joins Cyrus for their annual traditional Valentine's Day special. They debate who's the better parent, who's the better driver, who's the better haggler, and a whole lot more. On Hans Vani, catch the story Bhim Tola Ki Chokri. It follows the story of a young city woman who travels to the country to uplift the rural community population. On the Life Manifesto, Zarina explains how we can gather the courage to love again after being deeply hurt. And on Pulyabazi, Pranay and Saurav debate whether a wealth tax can solve economic inequality in their series Ek Sawal Kahi Jawab. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. The word of mouth really helps. Also, don't forget to rate us on whatever platform you're listening to us, and check us out on YouTube. You can check a list of all our channels at ivmpodcast.com/YouTube. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors this week, Bank of Baroda and HDFC Life Insurance. Thank you so much for making this possible.
Welcome back to News Kids on the Block. I'm your co-host Trivik Hariharan, and I'm going to be passing it on to Anya Daftary for our next story of the day.
Thank you, Trivik. The next story of the day is about India's tour of New Zealand, the women's team's tour of New Zealand, which has just come to an end. So the tour was, all in all, it was quite a disappointing tour for India in terms of the results because we lost quite terribly, if I might add. But I think that the series was a high for the Indian team as well. So it started off on 9th February where there was a T20 played and New Zealand won by 18 runs. And then on the 12th of February, 2022, New Zealand won by 62 runs, and this time it was an ODI. And then the ODIs kind of continued. The next fixture was on the 15th of February, where New Zealand won again by 3 wickets this time. And what the highlight of this specific match is that India, for the first time, put up like such a great total. And you know, it was something really, really exciting in general. This was a huge thing because this became New Zealand's highest ever run chase against India, and New Zealand did chase down those runs. Then the following match was again New Zealand versus India, obviously. But as this Crickbuzz article said, these games were like dress rehearsals for both the teams. The next match was won again by New Zealand, who won by 3 wickets. India put up a total of 279 runs before getting all out. And then the fourth ODI was reduced to 20 overs because of the rain. New Zealand were able to put up a total of 191 runs, while India was bowled out in 128 runs. That brings us to the fifth ODI, which is luckily a bit of positive news. New Zealand put up 251 runs, and India won the match as Mithali Raj hit the winning 4 runs, and India won with 6 wickets to spare. I think that despite all of this, Smriti Mandhana was declared the winner of this match, and New Zealand's Amelia Kerr was declared the player of the series. I think that despite it being a series of loss for India, one thing that we were able to do consistently was put runs on the board. It's just that we lost wickets sooner than anticipated. And as a result of that, on the scoreboard, more often than not, we were at 8 or 9 or all out, in terms of wickets. But I think that it definitely is like great to see that, because if you look at the men's cricket schedule, it's so packed, and the women's schedule comparatively is quite sparse. So I think that this shall give them some confidence going into the World Cup, especially winning that last match. And I'm really excited for the World Cup, honestly. I think that India has a chance to really show off some of their strength.
And our last story for the day is about the UEFA Champions League, the roundup of the games which took place this week. There were in fact 4 games, the first of which was Chelsea hosting French outing Lille at Stamford Bridge. Chelsea won 2-0 with goals coming from Christian Pulisic and Kai Havertz, their summer signings from 2019. Pulisic is finally hitting form again, and he is now one of the preferred starters and is apparently going the Carabao Cup final, which is set to take place on Sunday evening, 10 p.m. India time. You should tune into that as my team Liverpool take on the Chelsea Blues. However, let's keep going on with the Champions League roundup, as our next game was in fact the United Atletico game, and this game was supposed to be the blockbuster game for the week. However, it was a measly 1-1 draw with only 3 shots in target in total. So it was a bit of a letdown. However, I think Anthony Elanga, he's only 19 years old and he has just scored a big goal for Manchester United, one of the biggest clubs in the world, to rescue them a point at the Wanda Metropolitano. And I think that's a brilliant story in itself. His rise to form ever since Ralf Rangnick took over the club, and how he's only going to keep getting better from here. I think he's a great player, and United have got a gem on their hands. The next game is Villarreal Juventus. It was a 1-1 draw, pretty boring game. Dusan Vlahovic scored 30 seconds into his first ever Champions League knockout game or Champions League game in general. He's also another superstar. We've seen a lot of superstars performing on the biggest stage this week. And finally, a 2-2 draw in Portugal between Benfica and Ajax, where Sebastian Haller further extended his brilliant goal-scoring form in the Champions League.
That is all we have for you for today. We hope you enjoyed this episode of News Kids on the Block. Don't forget to tune in to us every Friday for our fresh take on the news from across the globe.
If you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other podcasts on the IVM network.
You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on our social media. We are at IVM Podcast on Twitter and Instagram.
We'll see you next week. But till then, do share this episode with your folks. Stay safe. And don't forget to do your homework.
सफर, रास्ते, मंजिल और मुकाम, अक्सर ये हमसे कुछ कहना चाहते हैं, पर हम हैं कि अपनी रोजमर्रा की जिंदगी में इन्हें सुनने से कतराते हैं। नमस्ते दोस्तों, मेरा नाम है केशव चतुर्वेदी और मैं आपको ले चलूंगा कुछ ऐसे सफर पर जहां आपको एक नया नजरिया मिलेगा सफर और मंजिलों को देखने का। आइए इन किस्से कहानियों में डूब जाएं, हर मंगलवार और शुक्रवार।
Love fighting?
We've got you covered.
Check out our show, The Fighting Goat, where we, the voices of the internet, Arjun Chipalkatti and Somesh Kamra, bring to you crazy weekly action on your favorite combat show, The Fighting Goat.
Be it commentary, breakdown, predictions, analysis of styles and techniques.
And of course, your round of favorite fighters.
You can listen to us every Thursday on the IVM Podcast app, website, and all major podcast streaming platforms.